And now to the scenario analysis. We can make a even more intricate and difficult scenario analysis, and in this case it's going to look like this. Let's write down equals profit in here, and our table is going to consider simultaneously right now both the demand and the order size. For demand, let's write 500 and then 750, and then let's take these numbers together, these two numbers, and let's copy them so that the demand goes from 500 to 4000. Now let's write next in here. Now we're making two things change at the same time. For the order size, 500 and 750. And let's copy them together until 4000. So both the demand and the order size can come up to 4000. And now, as we see, this table was formed a bit differently. In the last problem, we wrote the table like this. The total cost was a bit shifted. It was in here, like this. Now, since we have both the rows, both the columns and the row variable, we will write this equals profit in here. And now we will select the entire table. This can actually be done in a really quick fashion. If we're here, we just have to press, and this is a new key press, we just have to press Control Shift Asterisk, whereas we take the asterisk from the middle of the keyboard next to Enter. So it's, again, Control, Shift, and then asterisk. And here it is, it selects the entire table. And now, let's start connecting them together. This column input cell will be demand, row input cell will be order size. So we click now on data and what if analysis, data table. And for column input cell we select demand. For row input cell, we'll select order size, so it's going to be column input cell C12 and row input cell C9 respectively, and we're going to click OK. And as we see, actually these values don't really nicely fit in this table, so what we have to do is we are going to make these columns a bit wider. For that, let's go to U. Let's click our mouse and let's click and drag until the entire table is selected. And now let's go to the border and let's make it a little wider. Here it is. Okay. Now all the numbers fit. Actually, it seems the font is bigger on some, so let's make the numbers smaller rather. Now let's make the columns smaller again. I did an undo. We did an undo. Let's now select the numbers. Let's do Control 1 and let's make sure that they are actually Arial 12. Arial 12. Control 1, format cells, font, Arial font, and 12. Okay, now it fits nicely. And now, what Microsoft Excel did here was, it actually played with a very big combination of scenarios. It took demand 500, order size 500, and calculated the profit. 500, 500, profit. 500, 750, profit. 500,000, profit. And so forth. So basically, since there are 15, remember up here we see the number. Since there are 15 options here, and 15 options here, it actually played with our model for 225 times. And all the times recorded our profits. Now the next thing we're going to do is we will do a new thing we haven't done before. We will select all the numbers in this table and give a command of home conditional formatting. So this is a means which reads through our table and colors it. Colors the smallest and the biggest numbers. Let's do color scales and let's select the first one. And here it is. Home, conditional formatting, color scales in the first one. And here it is. The biggest numbers are in green, the worst numbers are in red. And all the scenarios have been brought out for our company. Of course, the green, the best scenario is of course that, whereas our company chooses to buy in 4,000 and the demand is going to be big as well, then it's the best scenario. But if we take a risk, buy in 4,000 and the demand is going to be dismal, 500, then it's the worst scenario in red. If we buy in 2,500, here are the different demands that can be resultant, and here are the different profits that are the results in that case. So really quite a landscape to navigate with these profits, but there is an even further tool. Now the next thing we're going to do is we will select this entire table and make a copy of it. So right click and copy, and now when we do a copy here, we will actually right click and select again what we've done before one time. Let's select paste special. Remember that from under paste special we were able to select values, and that deleted all the conditional formatting we've just applied, which was under home conditional formatting, and it deleted all the formulas as well. So no longer is there a data table, there are only those numbers. So no formulas up here when we click. No formulas, only numbers, no data table. And again the font got big, so let's select this font. Let's click on Control 1, select font and make it Arial 12. Okay, now it fits. Another copy of our table, but now comes a finale, namely we have to delete this, which used to be equals profit. The reason for it is that this way we get one graph really easily. Okay, let's delete this 10,000 from here. One graph will now automatically pan out correctly. Otherwise we would have had to toy around with it for it to be correct. And now let's select the entire table and use this graph, namely insert other charts surface chart. So it was insert other charts surface chart. Okay, and here is another representation, and we should now interpret this as well. It turns out that it's actually exactly the same thing as in here, only here we have colors representing what was going on. Here we have a more complex graph. Now this axis that goes from left to right is how much we will buy in. This is our order size. This axis that goes from down to up is how big the demand is. And this Z-axis that goes directly up This is profit. Now what we see here is that if we buy in really very much, then if the demand is going to be small, we will have losses. If the demand is going to be big, we will have huge profits. So this is the first thing. If we buy in very much, the demand can make our losses or profits. If we buy in very little, then look at what happens. We will have some profits if the demand is bigger, but the whole thing up here is cut away. And remember how this is cut away. Namely, if we buy in very little, as in here, we can never sell more than we've bought in. And this means that even if the demand is big, all the profits are cut away in here. So this is this region up here. And finally, we have to figure out, what does these in here mean? What do these in here mean? So we can take a minute to think about it, but to say it out. Namely, these here, these steep climbs or uneven places, these are actually this table. Think about it. When we buy in 1,999 books, we get each book for 24. We buy one more book, and each book is for 22, which means that our costs are actually smaller. If we buy 1,999, cost for one book is 24. If we buy 2,000, cost is going to be 22, which means that one extra book reduces our cost immensely, which means that profits jump up. Again here, if we go from 2,000 to 3,000, 2,999, the price is 22. We jump to 3,000 and the price drops to 20, which brings the costs down. I mean, one extra book gives us reduced price for each book we've bought, and the total cost comes down and profit jumps up. So these jumps in the profit are due to this discounting system that we can take advantage of. Okay, so here it is. And this is a three-dimensional landscape of all the operations that this company has. And here is a colored representation. And in this colored representation, you see, here we can see these uneven places as well. 15,000 drops to 12,000, back to 15,000. These uneven drops and things are all in here, but they're colored. Here they're three-dimensional.